2026, 6 p.m. This is the Park District of the Grange regular board meeting. First, we'll start with a roll call.
Commissioner Veer?
Here.
Commissioner Posey?
Here.
Commissioner Weber?
Here.
Commissioner Carter? President Open.
Here. Just a reminder, this is one of 2 meetings we usually do annually here at the community center, just to make sure that everybody from the community gets a chance to participate. Also, since we are without our normal microphones this evening, I'll just remind everybody to try to speak up so that everybody can be heard. I know it can be a challenge, but I'm sure we can make it work. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening?
No, but I do have a quick announcement, if that's okay.
Of course.
I'd like to introduce Rob. Rob, can you say your last name for me?
Sure, Porier.
Porier. He is our new Parks and Grounds facility foreperson. So we are excited to have him. He comes from a long history of being in Parks and Rec. He was at Oak Park Park District for about 8 years, and then has been at Hinsdale for 2, and he's joining us now as our foreperson. So he's here to check out the board meeting tonight, but we're very excited to have him on the team. I think he's on week 3, and he's doing a great job. So.
Thanks, Jen. Just wanted to, I know some of the people here, and I don't know some of the people here, so I just want to take this time to introduce myself and pretty much go over what Jenny already told you, that I have a pretty long history in parks and trees. I really enjoy troubleshooting, fixing things with my hands, but what I get the most enjoyment out of is watching how much people enjoy these green spaces in the city. And you know, I had to stay a little bit late the other day, and I saw all the people come out. They were in the playgrounds, they were using the green spaces, having picnics and stuff like that. And we have some really beautiful parks here, so I'm really excited to be a part of the team.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you. Thanks.
No changes to the agenda.
Okay. Great. Let's start with action or agenda item 2.1, public comments. I'll open the floor if anybody would like to make a additional comment at this time. Just state your name and address. All right. Seeing none, I think we're going to move to 2.2, an update on the referendum in Cedric Park, and we have some guests tonight. Jenny, do you want to introduce this topic?
Yes, I'd love to. So we have Gage is from Whiten Company and Eli is from Testing Service Corporation. So Gage is going to kind of give a overview of all the parks that are happening right now, and he'll end with Sedgwick. And then we're going to hand it over to Eli, who's going to talk a little bit about the Sedgwick Sedgwick focus and the contamination and the project with that.
Okay, thank you. It's good to see you guys again. So happy to be back. I'm going to give you an update on just every project that we've done with you. So
Can you time out for a second?
Yes.
We forgot our public hearing.
Oh, of course. It's an hours.
Sorry.
Yes. Okay. You're all right. Okay. So let's table the meeting just for a second.
Yes.
I'll change gears here. We do have to do this. Procedure is important. So I would ask for a motion to open the public hearing on Ordinance 026-2, Combined Annual Budget and Appropriations for the Park District of Grange, Monday, April 20, 2026 at 6:03 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Posey?
Yes.
Commissioner Weber?
Yes.
Commissioner Veer?
Yes.
President Open.
Yes, okay, this, just for clarity, the purpose of this is to take public comment on the final budget that's been presented in the board packet. So just to read this out, the members of the Board of Commissioners of the Park District of Grange will conduct a public hearing on Ordinance 26-02, the Combined Annual Budget and Appropriations Ordinance, on Monday, April 20th, 2026 at the Lacey Community Center, 200 South Washington Avenue in Grange. At this point, I would open the floor for any public comments specifically on the budget. Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Posey?
Yes.
Commissioner Weber?
Yes.
Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
Commissioner Veer?
Yes.
President Open.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, Gage, I'm sorry. Sorry we interrupted you.
Sorry, Gage.
Send it back your direction.
no problem. Okay, so again, Gage Burger, landscape architect, Whiten Company. I've been involved since I started at White, right before the referendum took place. So it's been great working with your staff, with Jenny, especially getting this stuff as far along as we have been. So I'll run through each of the projects. We also have another item for the Sedgwick Ozlat I will talk you through, and then I can answer any questions. So to date, we have Elm, Rotary, in Spring are all under warranty. They're punched out basically, so anything there is, we'll reassess at the end of the summer, get stuff fixed up, and then it's officially turned over to the Park District. Community, we have our last item here is the surface paint, surface coating on the multi-sport court. So that's going to start tomorrow, and then it takes about 8 days from start to finish on that. Denning is our other project, so that one we're a little bit of a hold up on permitting at the beginning, so we got a later start on that. The gardens we are punching out this week, so those will be opened up for the season. We wanted to get that stuff done. And we're still working on a little bit of permitting with MWRD on the restroom. It's a permit revision. We had a permit. We're going back to change up some utilities on that to where the sanitary sewer for the new restroom building goes. We're also asking for them to review a new storm line to deal with some runoff from the parking lot that was impacting the gardens. So we're still working through a little bit on that. Once we have those approvals, then we'll finish out the rest of the park with the basketball court, finish grading the soccer field, and then the restroom buildings were just bid out, so they're working through contracting, and we'll get that all started here soon.
Quick question on that. The storm line you mentioned, the change, is that to reduce the runoff into the gardens? Is that the plan?
Yeah, we
Okay.
the first big rain we had this season went down the parking lot.
Sure.
And didn't stop. It
Yeah.
went through the gardens and washed a lot of the limestone screenings out.
Okay.
So we put a new edge on the limestone screenings to help keep them in so they don't pour out into the lawn. And then the storm line is going to help pick up the water at the end of the parking lot right before the garden and pipe it into the line that's on the other side of the garden. That's
Okay,
already there.
thank you.
So, let's see. So that's about where we're at for Denning. Gilbert, we're still working through permitting on that one. We had a couple small things left over with the village. We're almost done with that. But really at this point, we're trying to get sign off from Western Springs because the storm line that feeds that whole park is actually theirs that it currently ties into. A lot of that has been impacted by roots, so we're having to replace all that. So the permitting is getting drug out a little bit longer, trying to get their approval on what we're doing and MWRD's approval on what we're doing. But the village, from an engineering standpoint, is good with what we're showing. They just had us move a couple small things to get their final approval, so we should have that one shortly. And then Gordon, next list here. Gordon, they are working on getting the soccer field finished up, so that'll be seeded here shortly, and then given about a year for that to establish before it's going to be open for playing again. So that'll be fenced off for the rest of the season, just with snow fence. The rest of the park, there's a little bit of cleanup to do with the landscaping and trying to figure out how to deal with some stormwater runoff from that adjacent city parking lot. But everything else has been punched out. We got the as-built in, so we should be closing that permit out shortly. And then that leaves Sedgwick. So with Sedgwick, we do have the village approval on our plans. So we're finishing up some permit items with them before they issue a permit. That should be happening the next week or so. With MWRD, they're having us look at the storm line a little bit closer and just trying to prove out where we have having it connect to the existing storm sewer is the correct place. So we're having them work with the village to explore connecting to one down in the south on 49th Street. Is that?
I think so, 49th and East.
Yeah, 49 East. So we're trying to work with Public Works on that too. So a little bit back and forth on there. Once we get their sign off, we can go back into MWRD with that final connection. But the rest of it, we really haven't had any issues with that. And then we do need to work with with IDOT for our parking lot connection out onto East. So since that is their right of way. So that's a little bit longer of a process that we have started. But we can get started with the rest of the site without that approval from them.
Were there significant changes to that parking lot, or it's just getting the new curb cuts approved, or?
It's not, it's just replacing the existing drive with
Okay.
their standards. So any work within the right of way, no matter how minor, you do have to get
Somebody
through.
has to stamp something?
Yeah,
Okay.
so the drive there just really isn't salvageable. It's in pretty poor shape, so we just want to make sure we do it right and replace the whole thing.
And that's this lot by the tennis courts and the pickleball courts on East 47?
That'd be the one on the southwest by the Little League fields where the existing.
Oh,
Yep,
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I know this isn't part of the plans, and I'm not suggesting that it be part of the plans, but I, over the years, have had a number of residents ask about some sort of pathway or connection or bridge, and I've said, that's not our.
Oh, across East Avenue?
At 47th, at East 47th. Is 47th IDOT controlled?
47th should be Village. East
Is
is
Village?
IDOT.
Yeah, but they're doing the whole reconstruction of that intersection.
Yeah. And is there
It's supposed to help with pedestrian crossing.
pedestrian crossing? Okay.
Yes, that is the goal. And put in a stoplight so it will be a little more user-friendly.
But the stoplight is, and I know this isn't, I don't want to torpedo this meeting, but the stop, since we're doing all this,
They have to stop over there.
they have to go all the way over here, or is the
They have to stop
stoplight
before the,
here?
before the
Okay.
cutoff.
Okay. Okay.
Are you talking about over by these tennis courts?
The bluff
Yeah.
cutoff, so there's going to be a stoplight going east before that cutoff, so that the traffic doesn't enter near the railroad.
I believe so.
Yes, I
Yeah.
think so.
So,
Yeah. And that's not usually where you would see kids. Kids are gonna,
they're over here.
yeah, they're
They're crossing over here by the other parking lot, right?
over by the item 10, the one that's marked. 10.
Yes.
Okay.
That's where I think they cross over. So,
Okay.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
You mentioned the runoff at Gordon on the parking lot there. What kind of solutions are you proposing or thinking of?
So,
That's been a misbuild by the village in some sense, because their water shouldn't be draining into us.
absolutely.
So,
Good luck having them fix it. So, Tim and I have talked a little bit. We don't have a clear solution right now, but last time I went out, it did seem like the drainage that was going through those areas was not across the whole frontage of the parking lot, just in select areas. So the proposal would be to do something in those areas. It's just a matter of what's going to survive. So if we do plantings, what's going to survive being torched
Put a
by
big
salt?
berm? Not a big berm, but a berm.
I don't think they would be too happy about us blocking the flow of water as it sits. So I think changing that would be an issue with them. But yeah, it's figuring out where it's actually coming across, capturing it there, and getting it through that like little no man's strip where we just put plantings.
So more like a swale type of thing. or-
Yeah, so Tim and I are gonna have to walk up there
Yeah.
and see,
Yeah, it is.
let's see what they're comfortable maintaining
Yeah.
and what's gonna be,
That's a long-term problem.
yes.
Yeah.
So we wanna make sure that we help with a long-term solution.
It almost feels like it needs a a sunken rock garden or some kind of something there.
That was one of my thoughts, is maybe
Yeah.
just some mortared in cobbles through there, but again.
It's something that's depressed a little bit so that it
Yeah.
doesn't, because right now, as you've seen, for those that haven't seen it, I run there 3 times a week. The path is covered in wood chips after
Yeah.
the significant rainfall, so it's not ideal. But to your point, there's about 4 or 5 spots where it's really bad, the rest is okay.
Right, so we feel like if we give the water a place to go, of least resistance, you can fix those areas, and hopefully that'll solve the solution.
And the other question was, same problem. At Cedric, you said something about connecting the existing lines to 49th or something?
So the storm sewer that we're putting in, MWRD has recently started like very, within the last 6 months, started commenting that if there is a storm line within 1/8 of a mile, we need to connect to that, whereas on here, it's a combined sewer, so it's not a designated storm line. So they want to stop people from connecting to those combined sewers because they're a little bit overloaded in certain areas, and move it to a designated storm line. Now, everything that's in the park is combined sewer.
Where does that go, though? It's a combined sewer. Does it go to east, Edmund?
Yeah, it goes to east and then north, I believe, so
Okay.
it makes its way through
Yeah, okay.
Brookfield
Okay.
ultimately.
Uh-huh.
And that's the big pipe we're connecting currently. So we have to explore getting a pipe from the middle of Sedgwick all the way down to the other side of east. So it's quite,
To 49th.
or 49th, yeah.
Yeah, because 49th is just stormwater, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we went out and looked at it, it's pretty deep, so we should be able to make the grades work. It's just a matter of, will Public Works let us tie into that line? And we think that line runs into the quarry, so that on their end, they've got a lot of stuff to figure out with how that works. So that's why we're kind of caught in the middle of this whole thing, so it's taken the WRD a little bit longer.
Thank you.
Yeah. Was there anything else you wanted me to touch base on Sedgwick?
Did you want to talk about we did update the tree list to the,
The urban forestry manual, so we did
Yes.
take another look. We were very heavy on oaks before. We pulled that back a little bit to diversify to meet the requirements, the 2010-5 rule that you have in your adopted urban forestry manual. So we're still at about 75% native with that. We're just diversifying a little bit of trees that I typically don't specify, but in a park setting, they'll work great. And then we're just confirming that those new species that we're introducing or expanding on are available in the larger sizes that we also want to meet. So still trying to do those 4 and 5 inch with the OSLAD funds to get some more instant impact while the smaller trees will catch up.
and that updated tree list is following my report, so that's where you can find that. And then we just have that agenda item for the shelters and shade structures, the shelter and, the shade sale. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about those, but Gage would be your guy to answer those.
Yeah, so this wasn't in our original OSLAD, but as we worked through it, kind of looked at our numbers, we did have a little bit additional in our OSLAD funds that we are proposing doing an additional 4 shades out there. So 3 of them would be 2-post cantilever metal icon structures, 2 of them at the pickleball courts in between. So when people are waiting for courts to free up, which there's often a crowd, they can sit at some picnic tables under a shaded area. It's a highly sought after thing for pickleballers, as we've heard. And then the third one would be in between the volleyball and the multi-sport court. So again, as people are waiting for courts to open up, or if they're watching whoever's playing on those courts, there'll be a little bit of shaded seating there for them. The 4th shade item we have is a 3-post fabric shade. So this would go over the largest section of the boardwalk in the new detention pond. So that would just shade out a couple benches in there, providing, it's a bigger congregation area. So if there's a class or camp kids out there, it's a little bit of a shaded area for them to gather.
Pretty cool.
Just thinking ahead, I know we have a limited budget on these plants, so we can't do everything we want to do now, particularly with trees and other planting. I would be interested in the conversations that occur in the coming weeks. If there are any spots you think would be great for plantings in the future, like I'm just looking as an example, between the 2 soccer fields, if we should run something there at some point, if there's anything we can identify, that would be wonderful. Or if you say, no, there's a good reason not to.
So
No, we talked about that. Bob brought it up about moving. So
we did move some trees
yeah.
along there, but are you
Okay.
talking like beyond trees, like additional?
I'm talking when this budget is over, because obviously we're constrained, right? But every year we get requests to donate trees in honor of folks, and I would love if the staff had a kind of a cohesive plan about where it would make the most sense. Not only here, but again, I'm going to go back to Gordon just because I'm there. I wonder if there's enough space between the existing playground and that main soccer field on the north side of that, because in the summer, the sun is so far to the north
Yeah.
that the playground currently doesn't get any shade at all. because all the trees are on the south side, right? It'd be great if it would support other trees. I know there's also a sewer line there, so there might be some other reasons not to put something there. I don't know, but.
Yeah, and we've actually, I think Gordon would be probably the best of your parks. That's kind of a little bit deficient on tree coverage compared to the rest. Sedgwick, when we're done, we're adding 108 trees. We're putting them where there's space without impacting playable fields. So that park's going to fill up once these start to mature. There's not going to be actually a lot more room outside of those. So, and that was, insurance is going to be covering a one-to-one replacement. So we've got those trees covered with that. And then we've just been, like, those additional slag dollars that we have, we're backfilling essentially with trees. And so that's actually how we got to 108 is it's what we can fit on site at the moment. And it's so we've already taken a look at it from a Sedgwick's perspective, but maybe not the other parks.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it looks like you actually added like 15 more trees too.
Yes, we tried to increase it as much as we could.
I've given her an update, there's been a few.
Thanks for your attention to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I love oaks, and who sent a link to the oak page at Martin?
Tim.
Very good, very explanatory.
Yeah.
But the diversity thing is there's a reason for it.
Sure.
As far as
Yeah.
diseases and stuff. But I
usually we see oaks exempted from that, so it's fine that we don't. We're getting a really good diversity in there. We'll have some great trees for the park.
For the caliper size, here's two quick questions. I've been trained in some areas where sometimes the bigger caliper doesn't grow as quick because it takes longer to establish itself and has more girth to build in. So I don't know, it looks good for the first year, but after that, the other ones catch up.
So that is why we're doing a diversity of sizes. We've got 2.5 to 5.
Yeah.
So we're doing 5 for that instant impact because we understand that we're taking out a lot of mature trees here. We want to bring in some canopy right off the bat, but those 2.5 will establish quicker. They're not going to notice shock as long, so they'll catch up some of them. So we're going to have a range of sizes. So that is something like we keep in mind. 3 inches is usually our go-to size because it's kind of that initial establishment shock versus what you get. So that's usually when the tree starts to look more like a tree and not a stick, around that 3-inch mark.
And then you get warranties on these for a year or two?
Yeah, we have a year warranty on them, so and we're pretty, like that. Once that year is up, white comes out, and we're pretty stringent on what's accepted. So
We've had issues before.
Yes, we have.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else have questions for Gage? Okay, Eli? So Eli's here. We have in the board packet tonight, we have some of the proposals, the remaining proposals for the site remediation program. So he's going to speak about those and kind of the next steps on where we're at in the project.
Yeah, so hello everyone. My name is Eli Rogats. I'm the Environmental Department Manager at Testing Service Corporation. We've been involved since the original geotechnical work was done out at Cedric Park to come up with many of these design recommendations. So just to give a very, very brief history on kind of where we're at and what's brought us to this point. The sampling we did about a year ago now showed some pretty obvious signs of contamination in the northeast portion of Cedric Park. This was things like coal, slag, certain relatively industrial contaminants. So essentially our work was to go throughout the park and see exactly how far this contamination was spread, how deep it was, and exactly what was there so that we knew how to address it. Following that investigation, we submitted all of our results to the Illinois EPA along with our plan to remediate the park. That plan was reviewed. The EPA provided some comments on our plan and additional sampling. And essentially from that, we developed the 3 proposals that you have in front of you. So the 3 proposals kind of go in different stages of the project. So the first proposal deals with the soil disposal evaluation. So in order to get soil from Cedric Park excavated, taken off-site, put in a truck, and brought to a landfill, we need to show the landfill exactly what we're sending them. So this involved us going out to the park, collecting representative samples from each area that we intend to excavate, analyzing that for a very wide range of contaminants, even wider than what is normally accepted. So we've actually already gone through that process. Thankfully, our results showed that all the soil meets the landfill disposal requirements. So all of this material will be most likely going to Laraway landfill in Joliet. This will all go as non-hazardous material, which was a significant upside for us to not have to deal with anything hazardous. Just for reference, the closest hazardous waste dump is in Michigan, so you can imagine how expensive that would be. So thankfully at this point, we have all of the soil arrangements made. That has all been passed off, so the bidding process can continue. So essentially that's the first proposal, so the pre-remediation stage. The second proposal deals with the actual remediation itself. So that includes costs to have a representative from TSC on site during the entire excavation and disposal process. That is done to, one, kind of monitor the progress. Two, we are going to be collecting samples throughout the entire excavation to confirm essentially what's being left behind, making sure that that's no worse than what we've removed. And then the third part is going to be making sure that all the health and safety protocols are being followed. Part of that involves a soil management plan that we've already put together. Essentially incorporates all of our findings, says exactly what workers might be dealing with during the construction process, tells them what hazards that are on site, tells them exactly how to manage these hazards and to alert anyone if anything changes. This document will be essentially maintained forever for this site. This will always be kind of the guiding document for any work that happens in this specific remediation area. So a lot of the policies, procedures are things that will carry forward if any work happens again in the future. So again, that soil management plan will kind of guide our entire remediation process, and all of that is included in the second proposal. The third proposal that we've issued, that covers all of the follow-up reporting that we're going to need to do to essentially show the EPA exactly what happened, all the work that we've done, how the soil was removed, how it was replaced with clean material, where all that went, and essentially the final developed condition of the site. So that will take us through the final reporting, dealing with the EPA, and eventually obtaining the NFR letter, which is the ultimate goal.
Yes.
One question for clarification. You said that the waste materials are considered non-hazardous for a dump, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that different than what the EPA would consider hazardous? Because I think we're removing this because it poses a risk.
So there's a few different regulations that are guiding this. So the EPA, specifically Illinois EPA, is the TACO regulation. So that deals with human exposure. So that would be the categories are residential, commercial, industrial, and then construction worker. So that was the previous assessment that we've done, which was comparing everything to see if we meet those objectives. Ultimately, this project will be going to meet the residential objectives, which are the most stringent.
Okay.
So that has been done, and then I guess separately, there's federal regulations for waste disposal. So the landfill regulations apply to all disposal sites in the country.
Sure.
So these are actually Code of Federal Regulation standards published by the US EPA, and these handle what are considered the characteristics of hazardous waste. So that includes, not to get too deep into this, but toxicity, ignitability, corrosivity, and flammability. So toxicity would be the general standards, that the TACO standards essentially, to make sure nothing is at a high enough level where it could be an acute danger. All the other standards essentially are a little bit more specific to certain chemicals, but thankfully we also did not have any issues with those. So by meeting those federal standards, that allows us to take it to the landfill, but the ultimate kind of comparison we're going to be doing is the TACO standards to meet the EPA objectives.
Okay.
So we're dealing with a few different organizations.
Right, so I just want to be clear that we understand to our residents, this is a residential clean requirement, which is our goal to have kids and people safe, and that's different than putting the stuff in a dump, which has a slightly different, as you said, federal standard.
Yep.
Okay, great, thank
Yep.
you.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Oh, I had one other, in reading the procedure when we're done, is the way I understand it. We take the soil out, and then we're testing the floor and the walls, right? To make sure we've gotten to the extents
Yep.
of the excavation. Based on your testing to date, how certain are you that we've really got this area nailed down? Do you see a lot of risk for that, or are we feeling pretty good about that?
No, I mean, I think we know pretty much exactly the extent of it. Thankfully, in some ways, we have very hard limits at this site. It's essentially what was an area that they dug out before. So we
Yes.
can kind of find those limits
Okay.
and work roughly based off those. We have kind of crossed back and forth across that line to see exactly where things have kind of fallen and ended up.
Okay.
But for the most part, we are very confident that the area currently outlined is where everything is.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
With that confidence level that you just mentioned, what percentage of the time do you run into some problems that lead to worse situations when you dig in?
Well, it's all a problem. So the whole area is an issue. What it really comes down to is what we need to do to meet the EPA objectives. So that really means removing enough material to install a barrier that would be adequate. We know the levels out there right now, and we know that essentially if we take off the top layer, everything else remaining underneath it does meet that level. So, there will certainly be unexpected situations. We do have a lot of that worked into our proposal, so whether that's sample budgets, actual oversight time, a lot of that has been kind of worked around to account for that. But for the most part, as long as we follow our plans and then put everything in place as we've said it will meet the EPA regulations, and that's really what we're going for. So it could be deeper, there could be other stuff down there, but as long as we can demonstrate that that meets what our objectives are, then we should be good.
Okay, if there's no other questions, we will be voting on those 3 proposals later tonight. Thank you for coming, both of you. If you guys have no other questions, you can stay or you can go.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you
for that.
both.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's
Have a good
move
night.
on to the consent agenda. I will ask for an approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting dated March 9th, 2026. Approval of the minutes of the executive session. Am I reading the wrong one? No, that's the right one. Approval of the minutes of the executive session meeting. No, there was no executive session meeting, right?
Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, okay. Executive session meeting March 9th, 2026. Approval of the financial reports dated March 31st, 2026. And approval of the consolidated vouchers for April dated April 20th, 2026.
Second.
I'm sorry, who? Okay. No, he did. He did.
He read that in?
What are you asking?
We did public comments.
Oh, we didn't read in the letter.
Yeah.
I'll read that in
Oh,
at the end.
yeah,
It's
we
a
can read
second
it at the
session. I will read it in. Good
Okay.
call.
Commissioner Veer,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter.
Yes.
Commissioner Weber.
Yes.
Commissioner Posey.
Yes.
President Opit.
Yes.
Where are you on that? Sorry.
What do we do?
I'll take care of it later. Don't worry. It's not- It's important, but we have not distracted anything. Okay. We will now move to staff reports. So let's start with the director's report.
Okay, so just a reminder, if you haven't done your statement of economic interest, it is due May 1st, so please make sure you complete that. I did just want to give a quick update. We did go out for bids. The bid opening was held on April 16th for the restrooms for Sedgwick and Denning. If you remember, we had the prefab bathrooms came in higher than budgeted. It came in at $876,000. So the bid came in, we had budgeted for Whiten Company constructing them at $707,000. The bids came in, they totaled $719,000, which also included the foundation, which wasn't included in the $876,000. So essentially it was $653,000 compared to the $876,000, which is a difference of $163,000. And then the concrete came in, but again, we had to do the concrete foundation either way. So that came in at $66,000. So the total for the bathrooms is going to be 719,000. So we did good there. And then there was 60,000 for them constructing them too, the plans. But, so that was positive. In an effort to keep moving, we have a construction management agreement, so White does hold the contracts. All the bidders, the people who won the bid are the same, the usual suspects who've won in the past. So they are working on vetting them and going forward, issuing contracts. I will have the final letter of recommendation next month, but we are going to start issuing these contracts, or I should say Whiten Company is going to start issuing these contracts because we want to move forward so we don't hold up any lead times on ordering stuff. So, I wanted to circle back to the Little League signs that they wanted to put those 3 5x7 signs with their history and their winnings on these signs. They wanted to put them on the batting cages. We spoke to them, let them know that the board thought they were maybe a little too large and to find a new location. One of the locations that they proposed, staff is in favor of. So this is the pictures I gave to you. So they wanted to put them in the outfield on the fencing, which we feel is a really appropriate location for them to put these. They wanted 5x7. If you look at the fence panel, like one banner is on a fence panel there, that is 10 by 3.5, so 10 wide by 3.5 high. So they'll have to reduce it a little bit, maybe 3x7, but we do think that's a good area, and possibly using a banner material, not a heavy wood or anything heavy that might pull the fencing. So that is kind of the solution that we've come up with, and we're happy to hear any feedback from the board.
So that would be completely below the yellow safety barrier there?
Yes. Yeah, they would have to keep it in that fence panel.
Do these come up and down every year?
So they have been leaving them up, but when speaking with Tim, we'd like them to come down every year, at least those ones, because then they just, Bob, I think you can attest, they break and they're hanging. So that is something we'd like to take down. Again, we need to speak to Little League is to see if they can do it in a banner or if they still want to do their more structured board. But again, we do think this is a good location for them. I think they'll get seen more. The kids will see them, the parents will see them versus being on the batting cages. And they would put 2 on one field and 1 on the other. So the softball field where they play softball, they'd put the 1, and then the baseball, they'd put the other 2.
Makes sense.
So.
I like this idea. I was thinking, why don't they just put it on their building?
Well, because I think it would overtake their building, because the building's not that big.
It's pretty big.
Yeah, that would be another location.
I think just put it.
It's pretty big and they don't have that many records to put up. Not that many to put up.
I don't know, I think that would be really cool in the building too, but that's their building, I mean, that's not their building, but.
They originally, they didn't want to put them on the building.
Okay.
If I recall correctly, right? They didn't want to put them on the building and they wanted to do the batting cages, and then they're actually the ones who came up with this idea.
I like this.
Yeah. So, okay.
I can support too. I just would be interested in what's the safest for the kids, whether it's a banner or a panel, so.
A banner.
I would think so, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so they're not running into it. Okay. That's all I have. If I did actually, I don't know if everybody read my report, but that first bullet point, and Dirk might be able to add here, but there is some legislation, House Bill 5373 and Senate Bill 3907, which would require some state licensure for our programming, including like summer camps, which if it does pass could be problematic for us.
What exactly does that mean practically at this point? Like, what's the effort? What do we imagine the effort is to get licensure?
Well, DCFS is transferring over to IDEC, which is Illinois Department of...
It's a new title, but yeah, whatever. What it means is you can't hire typically some of the people you hire as camp counselors for the summer. And there's a lot more record keeping for every participant and every employee.
So administrative overhead, significant administrative overhead?
Yeah.
Okay.
To the point where you might not have enough
Qualified.
people to be able to run the program. You'd have to scale, in some nightmare scenarios, 2/3 of the group you'd expect would not be able to enroll because you don't have the number of qualified employees on the ratio to meet the requirement for a PCFS licensed childcare.
Okay,
As opposed to a summer camp.
right.
So we are working with our elected officials, and IAPD is involved with advocating on behalf of the park district. So we'll just keep you posted. That's all I have.
Any further questions? All right, let's move on to Jamie, and we'll discuss finance and HR.
There was just one thing I wanted to point out in my report. We did receive the fiscal year ending April 30th, 2025, our audit report back. We have met the requirements to be awarded the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Financial Excellence in Reporting. So that is a great accomplishment for this past year's audit. And then we will be meeting with our auditors to kick off our upcoming audit the end of this month. So I feel like we're just Groundhog Day. So. Aside from that, I don't have anything else to add for my board report. Happy to answer any questions, and then we'll be chatting shortly about budget.
All right, seeing no comments, let's move to the new commissioner of flag football, Kevin Miller. It sounds like the program is taking off.
That's Liam. It's going very well. This is our biggest league out of the 3 seasons we ran it. So this is week 2 of practice. We start games this Saturday. Yeah, very excited with how things are going on the flag football fronts. Only a couple things kind of hit on out of my board report. We did have our marketing specialist, Katie Wagner, resign recently. So the admin team and I have been interviewing for that replacement. We did make an offer today, so I should know by Wednesday of whether that's being accepted or declined. And we'll go from there. And then base registration opened today, so we start with Barnesdale today. Everything went smooth. Tomorrow is Ogden, followed by Cossett, St. Francis, and we wrap up the week with Forest Road and Congress Park. And then just put this on your radar, as we do every year, the Park District will be in the pet parade. That is May 30th. So if any commissioners would like to join us in passing out goodies to the community and candy, please let Jenny know, and we can make accommodations. Happy to take any questions.
No rain.
I've got enough already.
Is it true that summer camp counselor hiring is complete?
It was true as of the day I wrote this.
Okay.
As of today, we need to replace 3.
Okay.
We found out that one got a full-time job, so she is only willing to be a sub. Someone else had a change of hearts, and the third person is transferring schools. She's a volleyball player, and she has to go to school much earlier for this school than her previous one. But we have a ton of applicants. We've hired 5 subs, so we can piecemeal things together in a worst-case scenario.
It's wonderful to see that done so early. It's got to be a relief to the staff. I'm glad you guys are doing it so well. Seeing no additional questions, we'll move to Mike to discuss facilities and operations.
Good evening, everybody. I'm just getting over being sick. I'm sorry about that. But I don't have anything to add to my report, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
If there's no questions from Mike, we'll move on. I know Tim's not here today. Jenny, did you want to mention anything, or you're okay with?
The only thing, I already introduced you to Rob. I did just want to make sure everybody saw that Denning Park, we have, the swings are out of commission right now. That area of the pour and play needs to be replaced. So again, it's pending weather. We did get the quote, we did get, put our request to get on the schedule, and it should happen in early May. So the swings at Denning will be closed. I just want the board to be aware of that for safety at this point. But the rest of the playground is open. So we actually took the swings down. So.
Maybe not worth noting, I didn't see it listed, but we also got the mosaic signage back up recently, so that's back
Yes.
up at the community center. I'm glad to see that happen.
Yes, and the little library's back out
And the
too.
library's back out too. All right, any other questions regarding grounds? All right, seeing none, let's move on to action items. We'll go to 5.1, discussion and/or approval of Testing Service Corporation site remediation program proposals, TSC Proposal 76928, TSC Proposal 76923, and TSC Proposal 76926. If there's no questions, I would look for a motion.
I move to approve Testing Service Corporation Site Remediation Program proposals 76,928, 76,923, and 76,926 as presented.
Second.
Commissioner Weber?
Yes.
Commissioner Veer?
Yes.
Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
Commissioner Posey?
Yes.
President Opid?
Yes. 5.2, discussion and/or approval of ordinance 02602, the combined annual budget and appropriation ordinance for the Park District of Grange, fiscal year 2026-2027.
I'm going to hand this over to Mrs. Hollick.
So happy to report that after I presented the draft budget at our March 9th meeting, there were not hardly any significant changes. The two things that I have added into the budget are, number one, we increased Fund 1 and Fund 13. It was a split. So those funds are to improve operational efficiency and ensure staffing alignments. So we did make a slight addition to the wages line item as reflected. And then I did incorporate increase to capital revenue to account for the USTA $100,000 grant that we were awarded after I had done the draft budget. So there were no other changes to what I had presented back at the meeting, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
No questions from me?
If there's no questions, I would look for a motion.
I move to approve ordinance 026-02, the combined annual budget and appropriation ordinance for the Park District of Grange fiscal year 2026-2027.
Second.
Commissioner Veer?
Yes.
Commissioner Posey?
Yes.
Commissioner Weber?
Yes.
Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
President Opid?
Yes. Discussion and, we'll move to 5.3, discussion and/or approval of the grant agreement between the State of Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity and the Park District of Grange, agreement number 25203807.
Yes. So this is courtesy of Senator Porfirio. We received this, I think, a couple of years ago, and now we're finally getting it, so, which is great. So it's from the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunities. So this is kind of a traditional grant agreement for the state of Illinois through the DCEO and Park District of LaGrange for the $250,000, which is part of this year's budget for the roof over the garage area for the recreation center. So we've budgeted $400,000 and we've received $250,000 in grant funding. So this is just that agreement. Please note that President Brian Opid's name is spelled incorrectly, but we're able to just cross that out, spell it correctly. It's spelled B-R-Y-A-N, so we just corrected that, and this One Hill sign has the correct spelling. Happy to answer any questions.
I would just like to thank him for putting a roof over our head. You don't get to see it, but it's important.
It's very important. In fact, Rob said today there was some paint flecks he saw coming down from the ceiling, so it's important. I do want to point out too, there is something else we're asking for in this grant agreement is to designate myself as the authorized designee for the grant documents, and this is mostly just for reports and reimbursement requests. Otherwise, we have to get President Oped's signature on everything. If it's anything substantial, we would bring it back to the board. But for example, today we've had to wait, and I see Brian today, we have Wyola documents that we need to sign out and finish, and we need his signature. So it's just a way to make the process a little bit easier, but be assured we wouldn't do anything without, that needed your approval.
I think if you could make it easier to go.
I would appreciate that if my commissioners will support.
So there's a nice long motion.
I'll make that motion. I move to approve the grant agreement between the State of Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity and the Park District of Grange, agreement number 25-203-807, for the acceptance of $250,000 in grant funding to support a partial roof replacement at the Recreation Center, and to designate Jennifer Bechtold, Executive Director, as the authorized designee for the execution of routine grant documents, reports, and reimbursement requests, with all non-routine or significant items to be brought before the board for approval.
I'll second.
Commissioner Posey?
Yes.
Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
Commissioner Weber?
Yes.
Commissioner Veer?
Yes.
President Oped?
Yes. 5.4, discussion and/or approval of the owner purchases for Sedgwick Park Project OSLAD projects.
So again, these are the, and I gave you, these didn't make it into the board packet, so if you wanted to see what those metal icon shelters look like, you have the drawings there. So for the 3 icon shelters and then the 1 shade sail, that's what we're looking for approval on.
I got a question, Jenny, on the pickleball course.
Mm-hmm.
With the pad we have now, that'll fit inside there? Or do we have to expand?
No. So 2 pickleball courts can fit on 1 tennis court.
I understand that part.
Yep.
And there's enough room to put the shelter between with those, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Skinny bus stop shelter.
Yeah, right. That was my only question.
So there's no further questions. I'd ask for motion.
I move to approve the proposal as described for Sedgwick Park improvements, including icon shelters in the amount of $61,490, shade system, shade sail in the amount of $20,643.51, Hoffman multi-goal equipment in the amount of $22,988.50, with a total cost of $105,132.01.
Second.
Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
Commissioner Weber?
Yes.
Commissioner Posey?
Yes.
Commissioner Veer?
Yes.
President Oped?
Yes. All right. Next, we have support business 6.1. This is just kind of a yearly reminder to review the crisis management plan. Hopefully everybody had a chance to go through that and just familiarize yourself with that. Anything you wanted to add on that, Jenny?
No, just again, it's always good to review it as the elected officials are part of the process. So, again, direct anything really to me or Brian, but just be aware of the crisis management plan. Staff reviewed it. Go
I just
ahead.
learned something.
What's that?
No comment implies you're guilty. That's what I learned out of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Don't say no comment.
Yeah, it's safer to say I'm probably not the best person to answer
I
that
think the
question.
safe answer is ask Jenny.
And then I'll be calling you.
All right. If there's no further comment on that agenda item, we'll move to committee reports. Commissioner Veer, any updates from the administrative committee?
I think it was covered in the budget.
Great. Commissioner Carter, anything on parks and facilities?
I have no comments.
Okay. Commissioners Posey and Weber, any updates?
No, no updates, but I went for a walk by Wyola last weekend when it was really nice, and there were so many people out. It was really lovely to see. It's also such a great place for a picnic, and I think it would be really fun to have a picnic.
I think we're doing one.
Yep, we're doing this summer, I forgot if it's June or July, picnic and paint event.
Oh, fun. That's nice. Then, there we go. Good idea. Committee work is done. Yeah, that's great.
All right, we will move to 8.1 public comments. The second option, our opportunity tonight to make a comment. I actually would like to start the public comment by reading something into the public comment record. We did receive an email, and I'll just take a moment to read this. It's a little lengthy, but just let me get through it. This is a letter we received from Jonathan Robinson. Good evening, members of the Board of Directors. My name is Jonathan Robinson, and I am a resident of the village at 16th 7th Avenue. I would like to talk about something fundamental to our community's trust, accessibility. Over the last few months, I have personally taken on the task of recording various public meetings. I video recorded the March 9th meeting, and currently on my YouTube channel, Eyes on the Grange, Illinois, I have uploaded the audio of every meeting dating back to the beginning of 2025 using your official audio recording obtained through a FOIA request. I did this because I believe the work you do here, managing our green spaces, our recreational programs, and our tax dollars, is important enough that every resident should be able to hear it, even if they can't make it to this room on a Monday night. We live in an era where digital transparency is the standard, not the exception. Many of our neighborhood taxing bodies already provide high-quality video or, at the very least, an official direct line audio recordings of their proceedings that are publicly posted. When the district does not provide an official record, it creates a communication gap that has to be filled by volunteers. While I am happy to help bridge that, for now, the responsibility of an accurate, clear, and official public record should ultimately rest with the district itself. I am formally requesting tonight that the Park District Board investigate and implement a system for officially recording and posting video of these meetings. This doesn't have to be a high-cost Hollywood production. Modern technology allows for simple automated setups that can live stream or record to a hard drive with the push of a button. The camera, rechargeable batteries, memory card, tripod, and case for storage for the equipment I use can be attained for well under $500. I gathered one set of everything for about $100. Finding used equipment. Additionally, YouTube has no fees and a great interface to upload and host these videos in a simple and easy way. By doing this, you are just checking a box. You are inviting community into the process. You are ensuring that when a resident has a question about a project or a vote, they can go to the source and see exactly what was said and done in full context. Until that happens, I will continue to record and post videos as I can make happen, or use your audio recording of these meetings to update Eyes on the Grange, Illinois, so that my neighbors can stay informed, but I would much rather point them to an official Park District YouTube channel or website portal. Transparency isn't about gotcha moments, it's about building a stronger, more engaged Grange. I hope you will consider making official video recording a priority. Thank you for your time and for your service to our parks. All right, thank you for allowing me to read that into the record. Are there any additional public comments this evening? I would ask you to come to the podium and please state your name and address.
Everybody, Rose and Steve, 911 South Stone. I just want to talk about stormwater and trees, in case you couldn't guess. At Gordon Park, I think you mentioned, is that where you're looking at the water? Is there water there in the parking lot, or is that Sedgwick? Did he mention Gordon Park as one of the places?
Comes off of the city lot into Gordon.
Yeah, so in general at Gordon, I remember when I think it was an OSLAD grant many years ago, I remember asking if they could create bioswales to drain. I mean, I don't know how many years ago it was, 10, 15 years ago. And it's just really frustrating that we're still having these same, it's like we're trying to learn it all over again. We're not learning from these developments that have been happening in stormwater management. We kind of blame MWRD for putting all of this onus on us, but MWRD is operating under a consent decree because they're not allowed to pollute our local waterways when we have combined sewer overflows. So we all have an obligation to try to manage stormwater, and it's just kind of frustrating. And I think we should look at it as, oh, it's the village's problem, or it's coming from wherever. Everybody should be working to try to slow down the flow of stormwater into the combined sewer system. So, you know, whether it's, I wish the village would be working more with you, and you would be working more with the village, so that we could look at the hydrogeology and how the water's flowing and how we can best capture it with the swales and, you know, detention. So I also just want, you know, I didn't get a chance to look around behind here when I pulled up, but I just see there's a lot of concrete, right? And at the rec center too. Some of these developments have a lot of concrete, and that's just obviously contributing to the problem. So I would like to just see less development with concrete and more thoughtful ways of designing our parks. You know, it's everyone's obligation. We can't just rely on someone else to do it. As for trees, the Whiten Company staff also mentioned the lack of trees at Gordon Park, which I think a lot of that, they were decimated again with that OSLAD grant. It's pretty obvious that we need trees there. Sedgwick can use trees. Even Wyola, as nice as it is, I've lived there almost 30 years, and I have pictures of Wyola, and it looks different than it does today. There were a lot more trees. So we really have lost a lot. Now, people living here now might not know what they've, you know, if they're newer to La Grange, they might not know what they've lost, but we continue to lose the trees. And I feel that the playable fields, like we're talking about, is there enough space between the playable fields? Those, to me, continue to supersede the importance of the trees. I love that you mentioned oaks. I don't know if people know they're a keystone species. They're crucial to biodiversity and supporting the ecosystem, from the acorns that provide wildlife food to the shade and the habitat for animals. So I think it's great that we're having these conversations about it. And we do need some of the bigger trees that are a little more hardy, and they are going to help replace some of that shade that we've lost. So I'm glad that I know they're expensive, but I think they're really important. So just wanted to remind you all of those issues. Thank you.
Thanks, Rose.
Mary Mahal, 958th Avenue. So I want to put in a plug for year-round porta potties at the parks. I saw something in your current report, Jenny, about the washrooms at Gordon Park will be opened on May 4th. Well, every time I've walked to Gordon, I've never seen the washrooms open. I thought that they were only for staff because they have like a secret code that you have to enter to get into it or something. But anyway, so some other parks that we walk at, like Spring Rock, they seem to have porta potties there year-round, and so I'm old and I need a bathroom all the time, so that's my request.
Thank you, Marion. All right, if there are no more public comments, I will move on to board comments. Anyone wish to start? Okay.
Welcome, spring.
Rob, welcome. Just one last time, I'll say thank you. I'm really excited to have you here. I also want to thank your staff particularly, because I know it's been a very wet month. And somehow, even with all that water, the softball fields over at Gordon look amazing. I don't know what happened, but it looks fantastic. So I think it's shaping up to be a fantastic year. So I know a lot of hours have gone in, and it's appreciated. All right. Any other comments? All right, then I will look. At this point, we do not have any executive sessions. We'll skip 10. No other items to be voted on, so I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Brad with a second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Good evening.